Yo, what's good, guys? It's your boy No Name. Let's get right into it. So, about a week ago, I did a video of me POBing a Hexblast miner. If you like that type of stuff, if you want to see somebody like actually working in POB, strongly recommend going to check that video out. It does give a lot of insight into how I planned out the character that then proceeded to, SSF. It's forced and run. Like you can see the details on all that in the other video, but this is the update for that character. Just where's it at now? Because that 4 stone character was pretty weak, not gonna lie. Like it was really strong for the 4 stone run, but it like has so much damage it could have gained. So I want to show you where we're at, where I'll probably be heading with the character, some thoughts about the character, right? Also, if you like this video, like what I do here, if you like this video, giving it a like always helps. And, maybe even consider subscribing to the channel so that you can see more of what I do, whether it be with other builds or specifically this build, which I don't think there will be anything specific to this build unless I do a crafting video later on, undecided on that. But, if you want to see me do more stuff on my journey through the group found or other topics that I want to talk about, describing this how you see that. Now, let's talk about the character very quickly before I then move over to like showing off some of the gear stuff. The big things in this video are, well, I mean, the character's mostly done, right? I am not a turbo min maxer in game. It's very interesting. I like to min max characters in POB, but I usually do not min max a character in game. And since I'm not in trade, I feel like it's also usually like a bit of a barrier to min maxing. Right now, technically, that barrier doesn't actually exist in the same way. There's only a couple items that I feel like I'm truly missing on the way to min maxing this character. One of them is Balance of Terror. And that's just because getting Despair Curse on hit is pretty difficult and annoying. There is getting a better wand through grave crafting or through fossil crafting. And I've been just kind of waffling on the side of how I want to do this because I don't want to just craft like the generic +2 that everybody does with fossil crafting. But I also don't want to interrupt with the grave crafting system because I find that to be an extreme headache. But I'm going to do the grave crafting thing, I think, just so as like a top off for the character to get more experience for future characters this league. And then similar to my weapon, it's my amulet that really needs a big overhaul. There's some other gear pieces that could use upgrades, but like those are the things where I looked at the gear and I'm like, man, if I upgraded these slots, I could just be turbo deleting all content in the game. What does that mean in terms of like the character? I mean, it is almost done. It's incredible. T17s farmed. Ubers downed. Everything else in between downed. Also runs Sanctum pretty well, right? Like the character is good. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Not as tanky as I'd like, but it's because I made some changes in terms of how I wanted to get my defenses, right? I just decided that I was too lazy to properly gear suppression, and I wanted to use Restless Ward as a personal field thing. We'll talk more about that later. You can always gear it to be more defensive and just simply put more effort behind the gear to get the damage back while getting those defenses that I just opted out of because I felt like I didn't need it. Or more specifically, the defenses that I felt like I opted out of didn't do much for the things that I was having problems with. Just as a general thought, right? I find that suppression is very, very strong, right? I think we all agree suppression is a very strong mechanic, and I should have probably capped it a long time ago. But at some point, I intentionally uncapped it in order to focus more energy into the fact that I needed to be able to have recovery. And like, there's not a lot of ways to get actual recovery on this type of build, right? Like, Machina Mids sucks. And so that's how I ended up with the Restless Ward pick because I do generate charges and I do have incredible duration on them. Having the 200 or so regen proved to be extremely useful. And I realistically should have just taken some time at some point and re-geared around this fact so that I could still get my suppression without like sacrificing in that regard. But I got lazy because the character does what it needs to do, and I'm a man of, well, if it does what it needs to do, I don't really see a reason to spend time upgrading. Let me go focus on other things to try to upgrade or things to do. That said, though, we're going to get into the gear here, and I'm going to show you the things that I probably should have been upgrading, but just to, you get an idea of how little this character, like, the character did not need a lot to start doing T17, to start doing Ubers, and it felt like the damage really took off really quickly. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. Let me talk about the character real quick. I've tried so many times to talk about this character, actually, because it's driving me nuts how much there is to actually talk about. I'm going to try to condense this down and just leave a lot of it to the POB, or if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them. I just don't want to go. I don't want this to take forever, right? Number one, yes, I'm a Lycia simp. We stand Lycia around these parts. Sanctum is the best content. If you disagree, feel free to argue with your mom. Anyways, the number one thing about this character to talk about is the attribute balancing. And right now I have an attribute that is completely overkill for my attributes. You see the strength and dex that I just took off of here. All that strength and dex did absolutely nothing to my character. It's because I made it before I had the timeless jewel and some other stuff. But as a result of it, like this is very tight on the attributes. I believe I have a total of 12 excess attributes or something like that. 8 excess, oh my bad, 8 excess dex, 6 excess strength, 3 excess in. Not even 20 excess attributes altogether on the character, and that is tight, y'all. That's just a part of why the build says people say use omen wands. Prophecy wands bump up this requirement to about 249 if I remember correctly, and you do not want that. You do not want that on your character. That's one thing to keep an eye out for if you're playing this, right? And it's something that I've played around with myself a lot too. That's just where it sucks. But just because I don't have levels on it. Everything else about this chest was pretty good. I mean, it gave me life. It gave me MS, which I love MS. It gave me regen, which the regen has proven to be very useful for surviving maps and content and whatnot. And I didn't like playing without it, so I kept it on and just said, fuck it, we ball. And I don't really need the ES chest or anything like that. Having the actual life regen proved it to be very useful. So keep that in mind if you want to try this, but I do recommend getting levels on it as you start to lose out on a lot of the other benefits your chest can bring you, such as endurance charge generation on the implicit to go with the fact that you're a fucking trickster, right? Like there's stuff in that realm of power that you just miss out on when you choose to use Restless Ward, suppression, giga defenses, right? We're talking Thetis that put me at 2600 or more shield alone. So there's a lot of power there that I probably could be milking out, but I like speed and I like life regen. Otherwise, gearing in here is like pretty standard. It's a lot of just generically good items or really shit items that are still from progression, like this belt and these boots and these gloves. These boots are fine, but these two, like, I could do much better. I do have a recrafted wand, but I need to recraft it again. I have an amulet, like I said, I need to recraft. I do have a shield that is long term, and this is a grave craft. If you want to craft a shield that looks like this for your own Hexblast character, it's life, caster, crit, chaos. That's about it. There's no other magic to it. Use a pure ES base to make sure that you actually can roll the +1 all chaos spell skill gems on it. And it kind of just like poofs out like this after you scarcer the shit out of everything else on the item. Very easy craft to make. Nothing too arduous there. And that's like the core of the build. Unfortunately, we're still running an Eternal Mana Flask, by the way. You cannot escape the Mana Flask needs in this character. It just comes with the skill having, I mean, like, look, 34 mana cost is absurd every time I cast it. And that's even like a minus cost ring. It just gets expensive. It just is what it is. Other things here to look at. We have a cluster in instead of the pathing over top. This is what caused the part of my attribute issues that I then had to get resolved. But this cluster is very good. This cluster is very strong. Throwing speed, good. These large notables are pretty strong. Unholy Grace is not the right notable. There's other ones like Unwavering Evil. If I could get it in front, would have been nice. I also have one sitting around that actually came out worse in the arrangement, which is this one, because they put Overwhelming Malice towards the front, which is not what we want. I wanted to get Dark Ideation towards the front, but it's what it is. Double cluster setup is very viable on this character. I just have to recraft gear to make it work. You know, getting rid of this pathing here to Charisma, getting rid of, I believe it's Instinct, and one or two other points, or just leveling more and putting in the second cluster that way. Then making sure in the cluster to put a reservation efficiency cluster so that I can still simulate a little bit of the effect of what charisma gave me and not brick my reservations that way. Stuff like that. It becomes very strong for the character, like going further outward, which I will probably do and not talk about in a video. I just wanted to show you guys where the character is and what it actually got around to in terms of things that it did for me on the progression, right? I am fully atlased up, right? Every favorite slot, every invitation, every boss, all that good stuff, right? 132 out of 132, 115 out of 115. I've killed Ubers and all that stuff. And that means that this character is actually done, technically speaking. I'm going to do a little bit more for it just to make it like easy breezy lemon squeezy on some of the Ubers took a little bit of effort, and like Lycio is still a bit of a pain if I roll some bad afflictions, and I don't really like that. So I'm gonna do some slight upgrading here or there to remove those woes, but expect that the next build I really talk about is going to be something different, because this character is done as far as I'm concerned. I'm a type of player who believes that once a character's fulfilled their purpose, do something different. And this character has in fact fulfilled its purpose. There are some obvious upgrades, right? Like I am going to make a wand. I'm probably going to make a new amulet. And maybe I will get like new gloves or something just to like round out the character. But like, job's done, y'all. If you like this video, again, likes help. Subscribe if you want to see more of what's going on here. If you want to see anything I'm doing live, I mean, you can check me out on Twitch. I cannot. There's no real regularity to when I stream. It's just a thing that I do when I feel it in the evening. If like I'm just sitting around and I have the time for it. Like I know recently I've just been really bogged down with a lot of like everything collapsing in after the fact that I kind of just ignored real life for a week to play PoE, right? So I'm still like figuring all that out. But if I feel it, I feel it, and I'll stream so you guys can see what people can see what I'm doing. But the real way to see what I'm up to is to just come check me out on the Discord, or subscribe to this channel, because I post here with decent regularity, and I am in my Discord a lot, whether it be a voice channel or like I see messages in there. Feel free to like drop stuff in there as well. Anyways, that's everything about this character. If you have any questions or anything, drop them in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.